Did you see the latest Nintendo newsletter?
Whoa, nice graphics! I'd like to get my hands on that game!
You mean you haven't played it yet? We can play it on my Nintendo Entertainment System. It's the Legend of Zelda and it's pretty rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. With Octoroks and Beefers too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, get him, Link. Get him.
Awesome!
Intense. Okay, maybe it's not all that intense or awesome anymore. But for the time, it was very revolutionary and it sparked the open world concept. Sure, it may look primitive and old and all that stuff, but you have to keep in mind of what type of hardware it was on and what it is. For what it is, it's actually a really great game to play, especially if you're a Zelda fan or just a retro collector in general. If you're a gamer, I recommend anyone play Zelda. The original one, of course, to see where it started, to see how the open world genre even began. Sure, it's not the first open world game, but it definitely revolutionized the open world game that we know of today. And it's been done again with the new Zelda game that came out last year, Breath of the Wild. It revolutionized the open world once again, making it more fun than ever. It's truly earned the title Legendary because of how much of a legacy it has behind the game, and how much history and how much nostalgia and how much memories you have behind it. It may not be a perfect game to these days' standards, but it definitely is worth a look. So, what's the story for The Legend of Zelda? Well, the title screen reads, many years ago, Prince Darkness, Ganon, stole one of the Triforce with power. Princess Zelda had one of the Triforce with wisdom. She divided it into 8 units to hide it from Ganon before she was captured. Go find the 8 units. Link to save her. What's the first thing you do in Zelda? Well, you just kind of dropped into a goddamn world and you go into a cave where an old man gives you some candy, but in reality, it's actually a big old fat piece of goddamn cock in your damn mouth, and then you raise up the sword because you did a good job blowing the man. So, after that, you get out the cave, and then what? Well, like the story says, you have to find the 8 units of the Triforce, so that's the whole premise of the game. Find the Triforce. And there's about 9 dungeons in the end. Each dungeon gets consistently more and more hard and more difficult and annoying as hell. Some of them are really easy, and some of them will be really hard. Some puzzles will be more or less interesting and more fun. Some of them will just be complete bullcrap, and you won't even know what the fuck you're supposed to be even doing, and then you have to take a wild guess, and then when you find out what actually works, it's not that fun. But that's kind of the premise. But it doesn't help that the map is so primitive on this goddamn thing that, honestly, it's pretty useless. Why did they even put it in the first place? There's really no reason for it to be there. It doesn't show you anything, it just shows where you're at. It doesn't even show you locations on the map. It doesn't show you anything of those sorts. It's just kind of a blank, brown, gray map with a dot on it. No land structures at all. Maybe the NES, maybe the intention was for the NES to show the map that you were on, and maybe the NES just couldn't handle it at the time. But I don't know. I don't see a reason for even having it in the first place, other than the dungeons actually helping out with the map. Other than that, the open world does not need the map, which makes the game a lot harder because, well, you need to find all these dungeons yourself. There's no hints, no nothing. You're just set free. Go. Just go. And do whatever. After you beat a dungeon or a boss, whatever, after you beat it, you get the Triforce, but you also get a heart container. The more heart containers you collect, the more hearts you'll have, which equal hit points. So the more hit points you have, the longer you'll survive. But also, as you're going on, you'll collect rupees, bows and arrows, rafts, all that other stuff. But with that, they always have an important role in a dungeon. Like the recorder, for instance. You have to blow it in a certain area. You're supposed to know this, of course, but if you don't, then, you gotta read the manual. Oh, wait, what's that? You don't got a manual or original copy? Fuck you, faggot! Some items could be used completely a lot longer into the game. Like the bow and arrow, for example. It's not until, like, the next 5 dungeons until you actually really need it for one of the bosses. And also, that boss was pretty pathetic. You just shoot it once with an arrow. Okay. So what about the world itself? Well, the world is very vast and open and very impressive for an NES game at the time. You see, everything is spread out and it's all the freedom. There's secrets at every corner. Every item you have, it could possibly lead to a fucking secret. The bush right there, you burn it down, a secret. You could do all that cool stuff. And it's actually a really cool thing to see in an NES title. It's very impressive for what it was pulling off at the time. I think the biggest annoyance with the open world is the Zora. Why can't the Zora just, like, piss off for maybe more than 5 seconds? Anytime you're around water, the Zora's right there, and it's always shooting some goddamn bullshit right at you. And it's like, just please, fuck off. I don't want you around me. It's really annoying, and honestly, you can't even block the goddamn shots unless you buy a big shield, which is about 150 rupees anyways. So, yeah. But other than that, the open world is really impressive for what it was doing at the time. Like I said earlier, yeah, how many times can I say I'm very impressive for the time in this single video? Take a shot every time I say it. Please, do it. I dare you to do it. If you don't do it, then honestly, you're gonna have to get out of this video, because this, nope, nope. This isn't even fucking funny. I'm sorry, guys. So, the open world has a bunch of enemies like Tektites, Leafers, and Zoras, and all that other jazz. They're very easy enemies to kill, but when you start out the game, you're gonna die a lot. And I mean a lot, unless you actually know what you're doing. So, you have 2 swords you can collect in the game. After you beat at least 2 of the dungeons, you can get at least 6 or so hearts afterwards. So after you do that, you can go up to a waterfall and there will be another sword waiting for you. But the sword that you're absolutely going to need by the end of the game is the Master Sword to kill Ganon. Because without the Master Sword, you cannot beat the game. So you'll need every single heart container in the entire game to even get this Master Sword. So, that means don't go for the goddamn red potions, you idiot. Get the goddamn red heart container, or else you can't goddamn fucking beat the game. So, once you finally get everything you need to actually beat Ganon, once you beat Ganon, who do you save? Zelda! Of course! It's in the title! Even though everyone thinks Link is Zelda, and they call Link Zelda, and people make a lot of memes about it, and it's really fucking stupid, and I want to die every time I hear someone call Link Zelda. I'm looking at you, Briar. Look at me in my dead eyes. I'm looking at you. You absolute feekless cunt. Stop! A very simplistic game for its time, but very revolutionary at the same. Overall, gotta say, I give Legend of Zelda a Korok seed out of a Zora. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Bit Talk, and more of these are coming out. Sorry this one was a little short, but next time we'll be talking about a much longer game, I swear to God. See you later. Fucking idiots.